believe the audience should be interested to know more about live example. So we will have an exciting panel discussion later for us about the topic of Fintech and API. Just one thing, one of our panel members, Lorena Wan, Executive Director, Head of Digital and Innovation at DBS Bank, she unfortunately has some urgent arrangements, so she cannot be here. So join us to invite the remaining members here, Mary Chen, Chief Digital Officer and Head of Final Space at apidays.hk, Judy Yang, Managing Director at OpenHealth, Martin Liu, Assistant Director of SDP Platform at Science Park, and Maddie Reedy, host and founder at What the Fintech. And it is your show time.
Thank you, everyone. Very happy to be here, and thanks, Patrick, for inviting us all together today. So we had a very good explanation, thanks to you, just before. Maybe we can use this panel discussion to discuss a bit more about the concrete applications that we have in Hong Kong. And also, our panelists want to focus a bit more on the innovation of generative AI related to Open API. So maybe before we start this discussion, we can ask each of you to introduce himself or herself in 2 or 3 minutes.
No problem. This is Barry Chen. I'm in Forms, in an organization called Space, which is Forms Innovation Space. So my major focus, starting from the beginning of the year, is to develop the strategy for virtual asset. I think this is a hot topic, and also generative AI. I think these are the 2 very important areas. So I have been talking to banking organizations regarding the impact, and that relate to API. So I can share with you whether these opportunity would generate new driver to adopt API for specifically for banking industry.
Okay, hi, I'm Jenny. I'm the MD of OpenHive. That we specialize in providing solution to enable multi-parties on data collaboration and on machine learning. So today we will more focusing on what I share is how the data collaboration among multiple parties is to impact on the API development. Yeah.
So this is Martin Liu from Hong Kong Science Park SD platform. So I'm the assistant director here. So I think our platform is focusing on how to facilitate those tech ventures in Science Park, how to get them to well prepare their technology to the solution seekers. And so our platform also have an API hub that is a platform that are helping those API in the Science Park to getting more exposure in the market.
Thank you, the 3 of you. For every question I have here, you can supplement the answer of each of you if you want. For the first question, maybe I can ask an open question to the 3 of you. You are the 3 of you in the middle of like innovation and business case, and you are at the core of what is happening here in Hong Kong in terms of API development. Maybe you can share with us what are the concrete application of API in Hong Kong and what is the current landscape before we can go and talk about the innovations. Maybe Barry, you want to start?
Maybe I share with some of the background. We've been working with banking organizations in open banking. I would say in Hong Kong, open banking is mostly meeting the regulatory compliance. It doesn't, well, I think it creates the incentive to the banking organization to basically have the infrastructure, have the technology ready. But it doesn't have a very compelling driving use case to do beyond that. So after the compliance is done, banks are actively seeking for use case where they really bring revenue or maybe cost reduction. So until this year, well, given the generative AI and also with the Hong Kong government driving the crypto, I think they use the term virtual asset rather than crypto, to be more precise on more focusing on the more tangible asset as well. And these are create new opportunity for use of API, for using the infrastructure set up by due to the open API, open banking stage. And I would think among between the 2, AI really come first. For the reason that AI impact not just in one or specific silo or organization or line of business, in the banking organization, but it basically impacts all the line of business. And everybody want to create and try to fight for a seat to have a pilot with OpenAI and other AI technology. So that created the real driver of using API to talk to or using external service. Yeah, but at the same time, if it is vanilla kind of AI API, which is good, which is useful, but we see fintech organization and also a lot of innovation trying to build on top of it, trying to use specific data, domain knowledge, and back to it. And I think that will open up a lot of exciting opportunity to the industry. So that is how I see. But this year is really different, given the two driver and AI is and also together with domain-specific data and knowledge is going to make a difference.
Okay, so for our experience, because we enable multi-parties on data collaboration, so we come across to be more on the users of the API in our projects. Because as we need to exchange data between multi-parties for no matter it's model training or for the inferencing. So what we experience is a lot of financial institutions or different industries, no matter they are data providers or data requesters, they will recognize the value on that data collaboration or that need to use the API in some sense, right? But what really constrains them to take a step forward is a more ecosystem game, right? It's not a single party. I need the others to work together with me in order to make the use case to be beneficial and to be effective. So I think right now is for the audience in here or for the tech industry or for the user side, it really need to look into is how that collaborations together to really tip this game. That means is to work together is to make the use of the API to enable use cases for no matter it's data exchange or whatever to make it to be beneficial to the industry together. So I think that tipping effort will need to make it happen.
And especially to create the API to consume data, because some of the organizations just create the API to send the data out, but when they receive it, they cannot consume it and really, take the data and analysis. Martin, do you have any point of view about the current landscape on Hong Kong and API and collaboration with like fintech and banks?
I think, totally agree with Barry and Julie. So I think the most important part is the collaboration is really key points, and also the open banking is creating more opportunity here. And for Science Park, I think we have many tech ventures here, and also usually they will have some special technology for particular function. But I think the most important part is we have total solution for the bank and also insurance. So that's why we need APIs to connect all this together, no matter those few solutions that have to connect, become a one big solution, or they also need some more data to train up their AI model to serve the specific need in bank and insurance.
Thank you. Jenny, when we discussed to prepare this panel discussion, you were very enthusiastic about adoption of AI for API and also like how this AI can help to transform API in fintech. Could you elaborate a bit more on this and share, some insight with everyone here?
Yeah, definitely. So I see that is right now. Firstly, is I think everyone in the audience group will agree that is a very hot topic to talk about the AI, right? And I see the implication of the AI on the API development is because for AI, definitely it will need the data for the model training. It will need the data for the inferencing. And right now, as a lot of people to talk about the generative AI, then what happened is the generative contents will need to be exchanged as well, right? So when all this exchange of data or the generated contents enable more and more use cases, that means it adds in the complexity and the demand for the API as well. So one of the, I guess it will be a very common use cases is how to leverage on the generative AI on questions and answers. Right, you see people will talk a lot on how to use the generative AI to simplify the questions and answers along the different areas. For example, like say no matter it's on prospecting, for ordering, selling, customer care, etc. And also is across the different channels. No matter it's web, call center, or whatever. And also it's for the internal and external. So if when you add up all this together, then what it means is it will need to have a lot of, because of this generative AI Q&A use cases, then you will need a lot of data exchange for the generative contents, a lot of exchange for the data for fine-tuning and modifying the model by itself. And users will be very fancy about all this scenario. So it add in the volume and the performance requirements for the API as well. So I do see that is, with all that said, it will definitely push for the demand for the API, no matter in terms of the types and also on the performance and the volume.
And you also touched about the data collaboration just before, and we see a lot of emerging trends right now in the market, especially with financial institutions. And when we discussed, the three of us on the call, you also spoke about credit modeling scoring, right?
Yes.
So this can be a good example to share with us what are the latest trends, especially when it came to data collaborations with the emerging technology, or a work around the credit scoring. Could you elaborate also on this?
Okay, thanks for that. So regarding the data collaborations for the risk model, we have gone through that with some of the banking customers. And one of the interesting learning from this that I do think the audience will also feel that interesting is this. Because of the changing of the macro environment, then what happens is this, is the bank recognize the risk model in these 2 years suddenly happened to be very inaccurate, all right, because the macro environmental changes. And the bank firstly see the pain point and feel the problem that their risk models were inaccurate. Secondly, they also recognize that if just based on their own data, they have no way to further improve the accuracy of their model. So what they can do is leverage for external help in terms of the data. So we see a lot of people talking about the alternative data, and in such cases, the bank recognizes, okay, unless they can leverage on the alternative data, otherwise they have no way to improve their credit model. But it comes to a very key question is, if the bank need to leverage on more granular alternative data to help them to improve the credit model, they can't just buy those data into the bank. Because of privacy, the data providers will not be able to sell it to them. So what happens is right now we need to leverage on technology to help them, and what we offer is the federated learning is to help them. So on one hand is we help them on the technology that can protect the privacy and enable the data collaborations between different parties. But I think on the other thing, which is very key for a lot of financial institutions to learn from it, or for anyone that are interested on data collaboration to learn from it, is how to get your security team, how to get your compliance team to get a green light for your projects, right? So it's not purely a technology questions, it's more a buy-in, education, and creating the executive sponsorship to get the green light from all this related group so that you can make the projects to happen. Yeah, so I think this is some of the key learnings we have on data collaboration projects.
Thank you very much. Barry, I saw you.
Yeah, I really, well, I echo the experience of Jenny. I think the key word is you having executive sponsorship doing that. But what that means is API is not yet mainstream that every project could use it. In reality, in the banking organization, you need to have, because banks are so serious about security, cybersecurity, data privacy, etc., which is very important. But at the same time, if every project have to get approval case by case and not having the kind of, API is already part of our blood, that very limit the use of API in banking to some of the few high value projects. That's the current situation. So on the other side, when we are initiating projects, we make sure that we have the priority of using external information, data, and services to make an impact, to leverage external force to help transforming the banking organization. Those are the top project that we could actually get the proper API support. Let me share with you one experience, a real life experience. We've been talking to a company, which is a investment company themselves, managing a pretty big portfolio. and it's a fintech organization. They build their own generative AI to do research. They research on financial product, on company, on some of the market news, market risk, etc. So it's very good fit for a large language model. And I talked to them, and we found that, oh, well, why not you offer it as an API that we could incorporate and deploy it as a tools for banks, for financial institutions. And they said that, well, Barry, we've been trying to do that. I've just been talking to one of the banking organizations. It took me 6 months and not moving to the stage that we could actually get it approved. So they keep that particular project in-house. And I think that is not a very good sign, because I think a lot of science park organizations, they really want to contribute to the banking industry, have their innovation adopted by banking. And so part of our team, FinnoSpace, is creating a collaborative lab to really try to standardize the security, the helping the fintech organization be part of our program and make it more available and more acceptable by the banking organization to use it, rather than, well, you can imagine a fintech organization, they might be able to talk to one, maybe two banks. If they say every time it's a one-to-one kind of a special approval, need to have the executive approval. And that is something, it's not technical to me. It is about how we could create the structure, and banking organizations also embrace that structure to enable external API provider with data, with their knowledge, to help transform the banking. And we see that is moving. We're trying to, based on our experience and our trust with the banking organization, how to facilitate that. And I hope that we can help the science park organization more in this area.
Thank you for the explanation here. I have another question for you now. And I saw answer on LinkedIn, and when we discussed previously, that Forms is also working on virtual assets and cryptocurrencies. So maybe this can be also another example of exciting things happening on the API industry right now. Do you see like any groundbreaking API use case on this side of the virtual assets, or any innovation for that space you can share with us?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Virtual asset is another major area I'm focusing on. So for virtual asset, by definition, you need to work with those people with the proper license for the virtual asset trading. Yeah, the VASP license, I think there are a few already having it, and there are some of the banks also announced applying for license for that as well. So by definition, you have to use API to collaborate. So that is a major driving force behind it. The good thing about it is actually based on a lot of the crypto technology, which is well proven. So by having those technology and proper infrastructure set up, I think they are pretty well received to do that. What I have seen is some of the banks are more forefront, making R&D investments. Some are expecting certain service provider to offer something as a service to them, because they might find, well, in Hong Kong situation, it's not easy to find the necessary skills in the market sometimes. So we see it is definitely it is a driving force to have a adoption of API in this new business area. But at the same time, I think well, it's not exactly related to API, but the actual skills availability is limiting. So I hope that in this science park can do more. We're introducing some of your fintech organizations, fill up those gaps. For us, we've been introducing a few partner solutions from worldwide in various ways, in the key management, in the virtual asset operation, and also some of the digital wallet technology as well. So what we see opportunity is how we could bring them together, having a trustworthy organization and also supported by the ecosystem, to really make a difference. I think that trust is something that we have to overcome before we have we scale the industry.
Thank you, Barry. I think he opened many questions to you, Martin. As Barry sent a couple of messages. Can you elaborate a bit more on the role and responsibility of Hong Kong STP when it comes to initiatives from HKMA such as OpenAPI and few others?
Yeah, I think for Hong Kong Science Park, we actually have an important role that bridging the gap between the data provider and also the data user. So take an example of the customer 360. We have we understand that the marketer they no longer can use the traditional way to do the sales job, but they understand that it is very important that they have to really understand the customer needs. So we have a data community here for Hong Kong Science Park. So what we are doing is we connect those who have the data and also who need the data and also the technical expert, like federal learning service provider. So what we are trying to do is we create this community and then help those people connect together, and then the ultimate goal is we want to really create this ecosystem, and then we can really develop those technology and solutions that can really address the market.
And also, Hong Kong STP is pushing through like OpenAPI or several HKMA programs, right, to push the adoption of API.
So yeah, we have a program called the API Hub. So there's the same objective as the data community. So we understand that the API is really an important key technology to enable this. And so for the open banking and also open insurance, really taking many new opportunity in this area. So that's why API Hub we connect the data and also the technology provider together as a gateway, and then so to let them to discover each other and also to collaborate and create some new solutions for them. Yeah, so that's why so the same goal for all the Science Park, the data community, and also the API Hub here, we encourage the data collaboration via API.
Thank you. And also I have another question for you, sorry. When we discussed to prepare this panel discussion, you also mentioned that the API Hub can also be a kind of intersections with AI startups based here in Hong Kong STP to develop further product or new initiative on the market. Could you elaborate a bit on this, please?
So I think the AI part is very, very important is the data. So the API Hub, one of the key important part is we encourage those data provider to put their data to more visible to all the technology providers. And so once we have more data, and then the AI model will become more robust. And so that's why the data is one of the key points. And also secondly, after the AI model is well trained, so I think another important move for the API Hub is we can do the model serving. So we can let those well-developed API model, and then so we can get more exposure to the corporate. So all the people can use via the API Hub for the AI solutions.
We do have a little bit different approach when we're handling AI, when we talk to the banking organization to solve some of their data privacy and also their security problem. Because for some of the use cases, the bank would have their own proprietary data. So we would use a pattern called the RAG, the Retrieval Augmented Generation. So basically, it would digest the corporate data and put it into a vector database, not putting it into external data store. So by maintaining that private copy of the vector database, it will help address some of their concerns. The data never leave the organization, but at the same time, we still need to call the large language model, the OpenAI or other AI API. We still need to do that. So some of the vectorized data, information, numbers still pass out. But but the risk is much, much lower. And also for those major open AI API, they have their service level and also commitment not to using those data for their internal training. So with all these properly done, I think that RAG pattern or the model will make it easier for their adoption. Unfortunately, it's not the collaboration of data, but at least helping banking organizations leverage API and also the AI in understanding their own data and make use of it in a very different way.
Yeah, maybe just some of the experience further to share with the team in here. So I think the audience will hear that as we share different types of technology, right, to enable data collaborations, make good use of the API and all that. But I think there are three simple learning experiences that we have that might worth everyone to consider is, firstly, right now for technology-wise, there are many different types of technology that can help on make good use of data, make good use of API, and also protecting the privacy and compliance and all this. So just would like to encourage the people is to further to look into this. That's number one. Number two is, in addition to the technology, everyone will need to go through the compliance and security approval and get the exact sponsors that I mentioned earlier. So as the technology is ready, so I think no matter it's from the budget owner, from the business users, they can further to consider this, because that might be a good way to help you to improve your business in certain sense. And also with the hype of the generative AI, no matter you like it or not, then I think this is something you will need to look into, right? So that's very important too. So yeah, hopefully as we can create the whole ecosystems so that everybody can contribute and really make it to tip in the home market. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I just want to see if there is any question from the crowd here for speakers. No question from anyone? No? Okay. I think we can stop here because we were planning to have 4 speakers, but we have only 3, and most of the points have been shared. And actually, the last question will just make yourself repeat because you shared so much content before, so I don't want to make this session a bit too long. Thank you very much for the 3 of you. Thank you very much for coming here today. And thank you again to the organizer. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for the inspiring panel discussion. So, we heard about the FinTech insights from banking practitioner, and we are talking about the open finance, HKIA, also promoting the open API framework for insurance sector. Today we form a special panel to talk about the embedded insurance. Please put your hands together to welcome our panel members to the stage. The first panelist, Arthur Sue, head of product.
The API Connect Hong Kong 2023 conference is powered by bnovelty Limited. Check out more API-related education content on bnovelty.com or apidays.hk for more information.